Most men can't seem to stick to their good habits, and they don't realize why. Now listen up, because once you make the unconscious conscious, you gain control over it and you can improve on it. Now in the last 3 years, I've went through a pretty hard self-development journey. I went pretty extreme on it and I've managed to make a lot of progress. And because of that, I've learned a lot about implementing good habits, which is one of the key pillars to changing your life. Because your habits are basically the unconscious actions that you do on a day-to-day basis, which are around 60 to 70% of the actions that you take in general, and the actions that you take have consequences. And when you take the wrong ones, you get the wrong consequences, the bad ones, and when you take the right consequences, you get the right ones, the good ones. In this video, I will reveal to you 4 reasons why you can't stick to the good habits. Now, these reasons can also be reframed as mistakes, and by avoiding them, you will make a lot more progress and you will probably be able to implement your good habits with a lot more ease. And throughout experimentation and observation, I've seen those who avoid these mistakes make a lot more progress than those who don't. Now let's begin the first one. So I want you to think about your mind like a garage. If you don't know what you do in your day-to-day life, if you don't know what your habits are, who you are, then you have no awareness over this garage, which by extension means that this garage is a mess. Most men can't seem to stick to their good habits because their mind is a mess. They have no awareness, they don't know what they do, they just live like NPCs. Because living like NPCs is living without awareness. When you don't know what you do and you just do it, you go through the path of least resistance that someone else laid for you. You're not living authentically to yourself. You don't stick to your good habits because you don't have awareness over your mind, which by extension means that you can't organize it. The first mistake is lacking self-awareness over the habits that you do, over how you look, over how much pain you actually need to feel. Let's say that you are fat and you don't know that you are that fat and you are that ugly, you don't realize that you delude yourself. This is me 3 years ago, right? So no shame. Once you realize it, once you gain awareness over it, that's the only way to actually change. Now the second mistake. Once you gain awareness over your mind and yourself, you realize one thing. You have a very limited space. You can't focus on anything and everything. Here's the thing, a jack of all trades is a master of none. This is the quote by Shakespeare, but this is not all of the quote. There is another part to this quote. He is oftentimes better than the master of one. The master of one skill is usually worse than the master of a lot of skills. But here's the thing, there is a sweet spot between the two. It is the master of the few important skills. So once you realize that you have a limited space in your garage, in your mind, you realize that mastering one takes a lot of effort and usually doesn't yield as much results as mastering a few because of the 80-20 rule. Usually we gain 80% of the results, most of the results, from 20% of the effort. You need to find 3 to 5 endeavors in which you want to make the most amount of progress and put them in your garage and remove everything else. Because that's the sweet spot. You won't be able to remotely master, to become a remote expert in anything unless you dedicate a lot of your space for it. But you don't want to become a master of one because it is not the best use of your time, and you will probably be a lot more effective if you will focus on a few. But not a lot, not more than 5. Around 3 to 5, that's the sweet spot. Now here is the third and fourth mistakes. They are pretty similar, so I will use them together. The third mistake is that once we find the garage, we identify it, we gain awareness over it, and start to organize it and put the important things in it and remove the rest, we stumble upon the third mistake. As humans, we try to run away from pain. That's one of the simple facts about our behavior. We are really pain avoiding. And usually mastering skills is painful, so because of that mere fact, we will try to hide them, to run away from them, to not acknowledge them, and fail. What does it mean? It is basically about distractions. Now listen up, because it is the most important part of this video. Once you identify these things and you put them in your environment and you realize that you need to do them, a massive mistake that you might make is not realizing that no matter who you are, how special you are, you will go in the path of least resistance. And usually it is to avoid pain by doing distractions instead. And the third mistake is to have a lot more fun stuff to do instead, like video games and anime. And the way to avoid this mistake, so you might want to continue to do those things. If you want them, great, but you need to do one thing: set a rule. So this rule is that you can't indulge in those things until you do the most important things, the crucial things, until you go and work on those good habits that you want to implement. This can be reading about a certain topic for 40 minutes, and you can't do any fun habit until finishing this reading session. And the fourth mistake is not accepting it as being painful. Now, you might set a rule that you can do the bad stuff until doing the good stuff, but once you will go and do the good stuff, you will realize that it is so fucking painful and you will just go and do the good stuff. You need to realize and accept it as being painful, and you need to realize that the only way to become he who can endure that pain and actually do it consistently is to go through it enough times until you get used to it. The first times are the most painful. Accept it as being this way and just go through it, and with enough time you will become a lot better at handling it, and you will habitualize it, and you will do the good habits. Because of that, you will make so much progress in the long term, and you will become he who you wanna be. You will become way more fulfilled because you will fulfill your full potential. And that's it. If you enjoyed this video, you can like and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.